Accused number one in the murder of Hillary Gardee has been denied bail. The court has argued that the suspect's release could potentially put the lives of witnesses at risk. 3 people have been arrested over their alleged involvement in Hillary Gardee's death. Her body was found days after she was reported missing. Well, for the latest what happened in court today, let's cross live now to my colleague, that's reporter Silindelo Masikane, outside court in Mbombela in Mpumalanga. Good afternoon, Silindelo. Just take us through what happened in court today, the main highlights.
Essentially, what we came to court for, Bradan, Essentially, what we came to court for, Bradan, is the fact that we were going to receive a judgment in the bail application of accused number 1 in the murder case of Hillary Gardee. You would remember that the news broke of her disappearance late in April. A few days later, her body was discovered in a timber plantation. And in the days preceding that, we saw the arrest of 3 suspects in connection with her murder, and what we saw today was the judgment of the bail application for accused number 1, that is Sipho Mkhatshwa. During the arguments for bail, of course, his lawyer tried to show the court that the interests of justice did permit his release, saying that there were exceptional circumstances around the fact that he's the breadwinner in his family, and that the state's case really against his client was very weak, and in fact that the state was under pressure at the time to arrest anyone really, which is why his client finds himself in court. But of course the state then had opposed the application, saying that Mkhatshwa was not really presenting any such exceptional circumstances, and that in fact he was a flight risk and could pose a danger to potential state witnesses if he is released on bail. Also saying that they do plan on connecting him further to the crime using cell phone records, even though he says he has an alibi for the day in which Hillary Gardee had disappeared. But let's take a listen to what the magistrate had to say with regard to the evidence that was brought by Mkhatshwa and how in fact he is able to kind of connect the dots and try and absolve himself from being around Nelspruit at the time of Hillary's disappearance. Let's take a listen.
It is clear Mr. Mkhatshwa relied on newspaper reportings to carefully explain his alibi on the day in question. If I refer to page 99, Exhibit D2, he said the following, and I quote, "No, I said around 17:30 on the 29th. Around 17:30, I was busy communicating with Rudolph and Carlos." And then on the same page, "But later I established from the print, from the media, that it is around the same time that the victim disappeared." He also explained that he was following news channel 404 and 405. Later, when questioned to explain why he was so certain about his own times, he indicated that whilst in prison, he got a copy of a newspaper from an inmate, and it was then that he was able to connect the dots, as he put it.
Well, what informed the magistrate's final decision, Silindelo? What are the things that they were taken into account?
The main thing, Bradan, I must say, that came out of that judgment from the magistrate was that there seems to be a big concern around the safety of state witnesses in this matter, saying that his release could pose a potential danger to them, and that there are actually sworn statements and affidavits from people who said that they've overheard Mkhatshwa actually not only speaking of his involvement in the crime, but that they've also overheard him saying that there were plans to try and get rid of those who could be potential state witnesses. Let's take a listen.
Considering all these aspects, I will make the following rule and order. After considering and evaluating the statements, applying the law to the facts, the court is therefore of the opinion that the accused, Mr. Sipho Lawrence Mkhatshwa, did not discharge the onus as contemplated in Section 6011A of Act 51 of 77, and the grounds in Section 60, subsection 4A and B and C, A and C at least. He failed to show that there are factors which in the interest of justice permit his release on bail, or that there are exceptional circumstances. Accused failed to adduce independent evidence of innocence or regarding the strength of the state's case. Therefore, the application for bail is not granted and bail is refused. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so when will the case resume, Slee?
Well, from what we understand, that the co-accused in this matter will be applying for bail next week, but Sipho Mkhatshwa himself is expected back in the Magistrates Court for the finalization of his indictments on the 22nd of August.
Okay.